Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Thank you so much for everyone who's joining us for this Behind the Stack. And thank you, Billy, for joining here. Billy, please introduce yourself.
Yes, glad to be here. Yeah, I am Billy from API3. I handle the developer relations, some of the integrations. Sometimes I dabble a little bit in BD as I get more questions to integrate. But yeah, API3, we are an Oracle solution. I actually made like a little bit of a slide to kind of introduce, what we are about, why would you choose API3 when there's a lot of different options. But yeah, glad to be here. I'm your probably the first person you'll talk to if you have questions about API3. So glad to meet everybody.
That's super cool. Thank you so much for your introduction. Just to place everything together right now. So Billy is here because with Aurora Marketplace, which is basically the marketplace where chain founders, virtual chain founders go when they're looking for partners or for some specific integration, API3 has been the latest addition to the set. So we're super happy to have them here. The objective of this video is for everyone who's looking to launch a chain to better understand what Billy and API3 is doing and how this can help them work on what they're doing with the chain and achieve what they're doing. So please, Billy, I see you have some slides coming on. Let me add them to the stage.
Okay, I'm going to move it over to the side right here so it doesn't conflict. Perfect. Okay, so yes, we are API3, Oracles that pay you. You see I'm wearing the same shirt color with our rebrand on here. So we are Oracles, right? We basically bring price feeds to your DApp. So that without all the fancy talk, we bring the value of ETH, bring the value of wrap Bitcoin, whatever you need, and we bring it into your DApp for you to use for your borrow lending DApp or whatever you may need. Specifically, our primary use is borrow lending. So again, I am your developer advocate. If you want to reach me on Telegram, it's the same as my other name, Billy Jitsu. If you want to follow me on Twitter, which is probably the most up to date, you can scan this QR code. You can send me a message. I'm pretty responsive. I'm usually responsive within a day or two. So, shoot me a message. And like, if you don't follow, I think I get to those unsent messages. There's too many spams on there. So I think there's like a spam filter. So I'll get to you. I promise on there. So yeah. So why choose API3 for your Oracle solution? Like there's so many different options on there, right? Like, let me see. Yeah, I'll get in there. So that's going to be the point of our, I think we have about 20 minutes, 10 minutes on this right here. So a quick presentation breakdown, key learning points for today is like how oracles work. Why do we even need them, right? A little bit of push pull Oracle, like what are we? What makes API3 stand out, right? Our Oracle extractable value that's built in. I'll explain that. That's going to be kind of the main focus of this. And then the flow of a liquidation on a borrow lending app, right? So Oracle landscape, you have as a founder many options right off the top. We have Pith, which is a pull Oracle where you're pulling the latest update down on a transaction. You see that a lot on Solana and a few of these EVM ones. Redstone, which has been coming up on there as like a modular type of system. They have their own chain where they bring that data down. Chainlink, obviously everybody knows Chainlink. They are the brand, right? So like they are kind of the standard of the V3 interface. Chronicle, which from MakerDAO, again, efficient, verifiable. They all do well on what they do, right? And we have API3. Who's API3, right? Verifiable first party. What does that mean, first party, right? So everybody gets their data in different ways, right? Chainlink uses nodes, Redstone uses their chain, Chronicle does it their way, Pith gets it their way. We use first party services directly. So we don't provide the data directly to you. It's the people that provide the data that is pushing it on chain that we do it. So services such as CoinGecko, CoinPaprika, DXFeed, they're actually pushing their data on chain. We're aggregating that data and then putting it into a nice single feed for you to use. Why do we do that? Is so you can actually see where the data is coming from, right? Everybody's about openness and whatnot, but sometimes like if something goes wrong or there's a misreport, and it's like, wait, where did it come from? Oh, it came from this node. Well, where did the node get it? We don't know. It becomes a very trust-oriented type of system. Here, you can actually see it in the marketplace where the data came from. You can reverse DNS it and prove exactly where that data came from. So if you're all about openness and you want to make sure that you have full view of everything that's happening behind the scenes, API3 is for you, right? So liquidations on lending protocols, right? So this is the way it works on any lending, depending on any Oracle that you use, right? The first thing that has to happen is the Oracle update. So like we're on a run right now. We're on a bull run. Let's say, I think, 2,300 ETH right now. And so everybody's max leveraging. Hey, I want to leverage my ETH. I want to borrow some USDC, and I want to buy more ETH because I feel like we're on a run, right? So let's say ETH all of a sudden just does a quick dump back to 2,900, right? So the first thing that has to happen is that update of the Oracle has to come down on chain, right? And we're pushing that Oracle update. So we are a push Oracle. So every time there is a change in price within a certain deviation or certain percentage, we're pushing that update on chain. Borrow lending dApps can then say, oh, okay, I can lend you this much for your ETH, or this much for your wrap BTC, or any asset that you use, right? Your health factor, for those that don't use DeFi, anything below 1 is liquidable, and anything above 1 is where you want to be, right? So if the Oracle updates and gets pushed on chain and your health factor becomes lower than 1, your position is now available to be liquidated, right? And so there's tons of searchers out there. You hear it all the time on Twitter or anything, billions of dollars liquidated in the last day because, the price dumped 10%, 15%. So searchers are doing that. It keeps the platform healthy, right? We don't want to have bad debt or anything. So there's incentive for us to do liquidations in there. So if I do a liquidation, I get a 5% return. I made 5%, when it is, the platform stayed healthy. Everybody's happy except for the person that got liquidated, right? So what happens when there's a big volatility in the space, the prices of Ether going up and down, or Bitcoin is up and down, there's a lot of competition in the block space, right? So you see a lot of spam, especially like on the layer 2s or any kind of like that, because you have a sequencer. So everybody's kind of spamming it. There's no way to reorder those transactions or theoretically bribe it. So there's a lot of just people just spamming the network in order to do it. Sometimes things will get slowed down. Sometimes transactions might not go through. And then that one lucky searcher will then get it at the same time. The Oracle updates at the same time, and then they get the liquidation. Searcher gets the profit, and then, the platform stays healthy, right? But just keep into consideration, the first thing that has to happen is the Oracle update, right? The price feed that you use, when they do the update, it starts this whole chain sequence. If there's no update, there's no chain sequence, right? So a perfect example of this crazy, chaotic MEV kind of front-running things that happen with oracles is GMX. They had this front-running Oracle update. So a free money printer that happened in the very version of GMX v1 was that, you could almost 50 times leverage something by reading the mempool, right? So I would see the Oracle updating and I say, hey, Oracle's going to update to, let's say, ETH 2400. I, as a searcher, see that and say, hey, ETH is 2300, and I see it in the mempool. Let me front run that and then max leverage that. And then as soon as the Oracle updates, let me close that. Free money, right? So it was an infinite money glitch. Every time I saw the Oracle update on the mempool, I would front run it, make money, right? So they were bleeding out money for, I think, a couple of weeks or 40 days on there. And you can see that the profit really got messed up from what they could have made because of the oracles they use, and they ultimately patched it a little bit later. But that is an issue that you have of when you can read the mempool, you can know the future of what's going to happen. People can try to front run it, right? So what is the OEV network, right? Oracle extractable value. It's kind of based on, now that we know what the push Oracle is, let's say ETH is 2000, right? And we push that price on chain. It's on chain. It's $2,000. There's a position that's been sitting there for a while, and they longed ETH. They borrowed USDC. They're borrowing ETH. They're doing whatever they want with it, and so they're a very, very close position to get liquidated. And so in a deviation that we have, again, if we did an update of the oracles, every second on the second, every time it changed, like you see like on the Coinbase or Binance, we would be broke, right? Because every transaction on chain costs money. So imagine that on mainnet, right? We'd be millions and millions of dollars for 1 week with all the volatility happening this week. So what becomes the standard is that there is a deviation in price or a change percentage. Standard on mainnet is 1% change. So if ETH was $2,000, 1% of ETH is $20. So the next update you would see on chain is either 2020 if we're on a way up, or 1980 if we're on the way down, right? So what if I could, see something happening and I see a position where I can liquidate, and I can liquidate this person at ETH value 2010, right? On chain, I see that it's $2,000. Off chain, I see the price. Let's say I'm looking at CoinGecko and everybody, that's $2,013. Theoretically, I should be able to liquidate this person, but I cannot. Because I have to wait for that deviation to update. So I have to wait for 2020 and then spam like the rest of the searchers in order for me to execute this liquidation. Well, this is how we design the OEV network, right? If me as a searcher, I see an opportunity. Hey, there's an opportunity for me to liquidate $1 million off this platform, right? Keep this platform healthy. I don't want to have bad debt. I can bid to the OEV network and say, hey, I see that the value of ETH off chain is $2,013. There's a liquidation opportunity for me. I would like the right to update this oracle on your behalf. So let's say you're the only bidder, you win. So right here as a searcher, I bid to the OEV network. I want to bid 1 ETH because I'm going to make $1 million or whichever I'm going to do. I'm going to fetch that metadata and say, okay, the network happens. I see what's going on. You have now won the bid, right? All the real-time data you can view anywhere on this location on the web market share, which I'll show you. If I win that bid, I get a special signature for me. So it's only for me, it's allow listed. So if someone tries to front run me, cannot happen, right? And so just like MEV, I have the rights to update the oracle gets updated. I go to the dApp, I update the oracle and run the liquidation. I profit, right? So the big difference is when we see those things like on MEV, on like layer one, hey, they spend 20 million ETH to liquidate this $110 million position. Where does that money go? It goes to the validator, right? With OEV network, whatever people were willing to bid on that, 80% of that actually goes back to the dApp. So if you have a borrow lending dApp that someone is incentivized to liquidate, 80% of that bid would go back to you. So instead of getting absolutely zero for your actual liquidation and keeping your platform healthy, you are now incentivized to use the oracles, because literally our catch line is oracles that pay you. Anybody that uses something to pay a bid, you get 80% of that capture. So you're recapturing that value back on there. Hopefully that's not too complicated. In short, use our oracles, get paid in a sense. So what has OEV captured on here? So currently right now, the biggest liquidation in history was February 2nd or 3rd, depending on what time zone you live in. And so, we had everybody talks theoretically, right? Like we just launched in the beginning of the year and it's theory. And then this biggest thing happened. And so, okay, what do we actually capture, right? So Compound on Mantle Network, I had $2.6 million liquidated on there. We were able to return $150,000 back to them. Cash, that's profit for them. Yay Finance on Say Network, $370,000 liquidated, 42,000 right back at them. Lendl on Mantle, 190K liquidated and $16,000 returned right there. So that's actually newfound income for them, right? So for Scope, just in general, Compound across all networks earns about $9 million a year through borrows. And 5 weeks into the year, in 2025, they paid out $5.3 million in liquidation. So they already cut into more than half of their profits for the year. And we were able to return, again, $150,000 back to them in the beginning of the year. So again, that would have been absolutely zero if they used any other oracle at the given time. So, I mean, free money in a sense on there. So that is literally what OE does. I haven't checked the latest numbers on here, but we have a dashboard where we can see as we've had more projects integrate us and more people on there, the numbers get bigger and bigger of recaptures for everything. And again, this is no additional cost. The oracles have it already built in. We designed this system from the ground up when we designed this oracle. We wrote the white paper maybe like 2.5 years ago on here. So yeah, we've gone through all the different scenarios, and we are one of the few oracles that actually have gone through one of the biggest black swan events in crypto history, and we work flawlessly, right? So that's a pretty big flex that I like to let everybody know. And also, ever since the beginning of inception of our oracles in general, we have never done a misreport that has ever caused a false liquidation ever. So we are very, particular about what we list. Security is our number one thing, right? So it's one of those things that I pride myself in saying that, the team is always behind this and making sure that, if you choose our oracle, we are on top of it, right? So how do you integrate? This is literally it. This is, 14 lines of code that you will use in order to integrate into your dApp. So if you are starting from scratch, literally 14 lines of code will get you our price feed. Very, very simple. If you are doing a fork, let's say you're forking Compound, let's say you're forking Aave or forking something else on there, we are Chainlink v3 compatible. So right out of the box, you don't have to do any refactors, no new audits. You can just use our oracles right out of the box in order to do so on there. So we're more than just price feeds. If we have time, I'll do a small little demo on there just so you can see how quick it can be done and a quick view of the marketplace. So let me just go ahead and grab it. Am I good on time?
Super cool. And I'm seeing some good question.
Oh, yes.
Feel free to pick them, some of them if you want to
Oh, sure. Oh, man, let's
answer
go
them
through.
along the way.
I'm gonna go through it really quick. What is the biggest DApp currently using our oracles? Would probably be Say Finance on there. I think they're at 100 million right now. So yeah, and we have an actual OEV dashboard too. I'll kind of like share it here. I don't know if I can share it with you on here, but you can look at all the DApps that we have on here per chain, and you can actually look at the performance of each one for the month on here. So we just started a new month. We're on a bull run, so nobody's shorting. But if you look at previous months, let me make this bigger on here. You can see all the different types of stuff flow, like how many transactions happened on there, how much was captured by OEV, how much of OEV share was went back to the DApp. So you can see everything on here. So let me go back to February. You can see exactly how much was captured. Specifically, you can look at each transaction. So for every one of these on here, if Morpho decides to deploy on Aurora, we support those as well. You can see all the different dApps that we're using and the performance itself. So we're pretty public with everything. We pride ourselves on like how well we perform. Like I I know everybody says they're the best, but I mean we have the numbers to prove it. So yeah, so people trust us with their money, right? So like we are very secure. I think like if you have a misreport, I think it's like the death of something, unless you have money to hush it. Yeah, otherwise it's like why would they trust you, right? Um Yeah, I mean, so good question from Anton about OEV Oracle that should pay you, right? If OEV rewards become the norm, how could this flip the competitive, right? Borrow lending dApps are not anything new, right? Like there's no lie that Aave is the front runner, right? I mean, like that's the case. Aave has had the beginning ground and they have won that race of being the borrow lending dApp of choice. So how do you beat that? Right? Like what's going to give you the difference, right? If I have 5 APY at Aave and I have 5 APY on yours, why would I pick yours if I have the same return? But with the OEV captures, you offer 8% because you've been having a better recapture rate. Why wouldn't I use yours to get 3% more yield, right? So it depends on how you use all this new revenue that you may find in order to beat it, right? So it's not like we're coming up with anything innovative. We're just redirecting that recapture, what everybody's losing anyway, back to your DApp. It's totally up to you as the founder or the DApp of how you want to use the rewards. Do you want to keep it? Cool. Do you want to lower liquidation penalties so people leverage more? Cool. Do you want to offer more rewards for depositors so they have a higher APY? Cool. Do you want to fund public goods? Totally up to you, right? So it's whatever you do with that found revenue that's going to give you that chance on there. So I think you'll start seeing it. Like I think Chainlink has the SVR. Redstone has their own kind of OEV thing, but yeah, we wrote the white paper. We're in it. So it's something that we have the highest return rate of 80%. We are not third party with anything. We run everything on our own. We run everything publicly. All the auctions are open on chain on the OEV network, so you can check it. So we're all about openness and being able to go back and verify every bid and transaction that has happened on there. So check the competition, and we'll happy to talk back to you when you come back on there. So yeah, how does API3 ensure coverage accuracy across 40 blockchains? We are very, very specific about what we do and what we list, right? We have a very strict listing system that we have. It's got to meet certain liquidity on there. It's got to meet certain volumes. It's got to have certain listings on something. It can't be on some random like DEX, that has the $1 million of liquidity and then I can flash loan and destroy it, right? We've seen that happen with many other people that want to go very exotic. We've seen that people that have tried to do stuff with meme coins. We don't do any of that stuff. We're very particular about what we list, and we have literally a 24/7 security team. And we also use a little bit of AI to make sure that we are matching with everything. If something goes off of a certain range, we got red flags and say, hey, something is not right on here. Again, I want to flex that, since inception, we've never had a misreport that has caused a false liquidation on there. So what we're doing is working so far. So, I'm not gonna, if it's not broke, I'm not gonna fix it in a sense. So how does OEV ensure the network is secured and safe from hackers? That is a good question, as it is actually an additional feature. So if nobody bids, the Oracle does what it does anyway, right? OEV network allows you to, well, let me take a step back. The regular Oracle is just pushing, right? Every time there's an update, there's going to push. When there's a certain change in price in a percentage, it's going to push on chain. So it will forever do that as long as the feed is active. What we add as a feature is the ability for an OEV bidder to pull at the most current price. So like the example of the liquidation on chain, it was 2000. And then in the next update, it's going to happen as 2020. But if there's an opportunity for me to make money at 2013, someone is willing to pay saying, hey, you know, the Oracle price is here. We're on a run up. We're going to get to 2020 eventually, but not yet. I want it at this moment. Someone is paying to pull that transaction down and execute that transaction and then update the Oracle at 2013. So actually it's making the Oracle a little bit more efficient and more precise on there, because instead of waiting till 2020, it's then updating at 2013, and then it'll update on the next deviation on top of that. So it's actually making them a little bit more precision based on there, because someone else is willing to pay the gas to make that happen. So that makes it more secure in a sense, if you want to get more accurate, if you put accurate and secure more together. But if nobody bids, it's just business as usual. It will continue to push the updates regardless on there. So hopefully that answers that question. Yeah, OEV, hopefully I answered that. What advantage does OEV have other competitors? We have the highest return rate on there. So I think there's other splits out there, but we have an 80-20 split. So 80% of whatever is bid is recaptured, goes back to the DApp. I can't think of any other competitor out there that can offer that whatsoever. And that's because we do everything in-house. We're not relying on any third-party services or anything. Everything we built was from the ground up, is our stuff. Easily migratable and everything. So yeah, we're not depending on any other services or third parties or anything like that on there. What are the key strategies to educate and onboard more developers to use API3 Oracle? I mean, I can literally show you this in like 2 minutes of how to integrate, but I actually have a searcher series, right? It's about 10 hours worth of content where I show you how to use the Oracle, show you how to use adapters, I take you through the whole OEV interface to, you know, like how do I bid and update an actual Oracle in real time. Then I cover one that says how to, you know, how to fork Aave v2, deploy that, deploy it with the tokens that we want to use. And then we're using OEV oracles. Then I show how to do a liquidation with a regular wallet. Then I show how to do a liquidation with a smart contract, because that's how people do it. And then I show you how to do a liquidation with a smart contract using OEV to do a liquidation. And then at the very end, showing you how to do a flash zone, because who has like a couple $1 million on their wallet just standing by for liquidations? So it lets you borrow off the Aave fork that we did, borrow it, perform the OEV update, do the liquidation, pay back the loan, keep the profit, right? So like a whole series based on just not just learning about API3, but learning how to become a searcher, learning how borrow lending works on there. So I have a lot of those tutorials kind of all over the place on YouTube, just literally like API3 OEV, and you will find it. I'm working on stuff with Morpho as well. So like those that want to do liquidations on Morpho, I'm working on something like that. Again, all revolving around API3's Oracle, which is very simple to use on there. And I think I answered all the questions on there. If I didn't answer,
You
go
are
ahead and drop it.
incredible.
Yeah.
You are incredible. You went over every question, which is
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
People who are super happy about that. If
Awesome.
you have the link close by for the API3 OEV video, I'm sure they'd be very happy to have this in the comments of the
Gotcha.
Twitter.
I gotta put it on our YouTube. It's on everybody else's YouTube. So as I'm a guest for everybody, it's on their YouTube. So I'll have to search it. So I could probably DM it to you after. Maybe we put it on the YouTube
Yes,
once it's live. But yeah,
great.
we gotta like host it on our own on there. So really quick, I know we're almost out of time here. If you go to API market.api3.org, it's gonna take you right over here. You can see all the different chains that we support on here. Aurora is a little bit different because we have it like as a part of the marketplace for Aurora on there. And then when you go live, you do that. But just to show you really quick, I'm going to go on the test net. We'll just do Sepolia on here, but you can check all the test nets in Sepolia. And you can see all the list of everything that we have. We have 200 plus data feeds on here. Right now, I just turned this one active, but you can see the full data feed catalog here. And here you have a bunch, like 146 different cryptocurrencies. I mean, people keep creating tokens, so we keep doing them. We have LST, LRT exchange rates, you know, wrap, staked ETH or anything like that. So if you want to leverage off, you know, all the different staked ETH options there are out there. It's totally available. Stable coins, that list is probably going to get bigger as more and more stable coins get born for whatever reason they need them for. And then one Forex here for the Euro USD. We don't want to use the Euro E just yet because it's still under consideration. So we're doing a direct Euro USD availability on there. Again, we're very particular about how we list all our stuff. So, you know, we decided to go with the Euro USD versus the Euro E USD on there. So yeah, on there. So let's just integrate one, right? So right now I have this ETH USD. Let's go ahead and check that out. You can see with a real-time feed right now, this is the actual price, 433.8, 4,338 while I'm reading out loud. So this is real time. You can see that on chain. You can see exactly who's giving us this feed right here: block size, CoinGecko, CoinPaprika. So you can look at that. You can check the first party source verified. If you want to go like right in there and go and dig deep into the actual location, you can do the reverse DNS if you want to. Here's the air node address. You can check everything on chain and then view the source specifically on here. So if you ever wanted to go, hey, who misperformed on this weird oracle, you can prove it yourself right here on here. So anyways, let's integrate right here. So I want to go to ETH USD. I want to integrate. Right now, I'm using a generic Oracle here. So this is the Oracle that you could just use as a test net on here. When you're going to production and you actually want to make money with the OEV, you're going to have this option that says earn OEV rewards. That's something you want to talk to us because we will give you a specific Oracle for you. It's more for our accounting on our side to make sure that anybody that bid for your DApp, all that money is to you. It's not like it's pooled together with other dApps. It's specifically for you. So let me just go ahead and grab this Oracle feed, and you can see that same exact code right here, 14 lines of code. I'm just going to pop it over to Remix right here. Let me make this bigger. Right here, same amount of code, I think, other than the identifier, MIT identifier. So let's go ahead and just deploy that. I'm going to use Rabbit Wallet to deploy that on not mainnet. I don't want to spend that money. Let me go to Sepolia. Actually, let me do this on MetaMask better. My bad. So let's switch it to MetaMask because I have Sepolia. There we go. We don't want to use real money on here. So I'm just going to go ahead and deploy that. And like I said, this is like 2 minutes. It's literally this much code. That's all you need to integrate on your dApp. And then wait for the Sepolia transaction to actually do its thing. And there we go. So if I have my data feed reader example right here, all it does is read the data feed. So I'm going to pass the, actually it's this one, the reader. So this is the proxy address or the Oracle address for this ETH USD. So I'm just going to go ahead and pop that in there, read the data feed. 4,338 and some change, right? It's 18 decimals. This has a timestamp when it was last updated. Again, we always want to check timestamps to make sure that the data is fresh. It has a minimum of 24 hours uptime, right? So if it hasn't updated in 24 hours, something is wrong, especially for stable coins. So you want to make sure that your data is fresh. And then, you know, it updates as needed. But you're like, oh, okay, that's great. I don't want to use this interface. I don't like using Into 24. I have this Aave fork or this compound fork I want to bring over to Aurora for my chain. How do I do that? Well, there you go. We are Chainlink v3 interface compatible. You can see that right here. It's the v3 interface protocol, like most sites. So I'm going to go ahead and deploy that as well. This does require me to deploy with the price feed specifically. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that one more time. And I'm going to go ahead and deploy that right here. So I'm deploying it with the ETH USD Oracle. And I'm going to go ahead and confirm it. And let me minimize this API3 one. And there we go. Data consumer v3 interface. Let me make it big. So you guys can I make it any bigger? I guess not. All right. Oh, let me go here. There we go. And get the latest answer. And there we go. It's $4,338 on there. So doesn't matter what you use. If you want to use the API3 interface, if you want to use the Chainlink v3 interface, it all works right out of the box on there. You don't have to refactor. You don't have to re-audit. So if something's working on mainnet and you want to bring it to Aurora, absolutely available for you to use without having to worry about all those other oracles. Again, if you have questions about that, or if you want something specific, we do have an adapter similar to like Morpho, where they have the adapters of the borrow lending on there. But yeah, I'll be probably one of the guys you'll talk to for that integration on there. But yeah, I just wanted to show you how simple it was, literally like minimal lines of code. The rest is your dApp logic, right? But all you have to do is just pass, the feed that you need, and you got it. yeah, I don't know if there was any other questions. I'm looking on the chat, but I think that's it.
That's super smooth. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for this demo, and shout out to the designer of this website. When you check the oracles, I found it like
Oh
super
yeah.
super cool, and where you're able to check the sources.
Yeah. Super
Anyway,
cool. Yeah.
thank you very much, Billy. Do you have any words for the founders out there that are building and are in the trenches, working on the next big product?
Yeah. I mean, again, everything's about revenue, to be honest. You want to make money with your project, right? So like if there's a chance for you to make an additional 80% on something that you would make zero on, why not, right? It doesn't cost you any additional to these oracles. We are very responsive on here, so I mean, give it a shot. Again, there's no problems changing oracles to another one if you're not happy with the service or anything, especially if you're getting ready on testnet and you want to go to mainnet on there. But yeah, I mean, like any additional way to get more revenue is the key to success to survive in this crazy space, right? So if you're getting traction and you're like missing out on 80% of what you would normally get a zero, why not? Right?
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Billy. We are super happy to be working with you. As you said, you guys are the best in the Oracle space, and we're glad to be able to provide your services to our founders.
Yeah.
Uh, let's see how the year is gonna come. We're looking to launch 1,000 chain, so we're looking forward to have all those founders pushing chains everywhere. Thank you
Awesome.
so much, Billy.
All right. Glad to be here, man. Catch you guys later.
Have a great day. Bye.
See ya.